some issues. The first time with notifications, and the second time I've learned that this headset, take soft spoken, it has to be whispering of them. So I hope you're all doing well. But go ahead and jump in. This time I've decided to add the TV shows. The last video I did was just, the one that I was doing was just movies, and I regretted not having the TV shows, so I'm rectifying that. This list, so let's go ahead and get started. Where's the first one? There it is. Starting with the Phantom Menace. I'm gonna put this one exactly where I put it in the other list, which is B. I think it's likely to go down to C. I don't remember. I already forgot how I did the list, but with the TV shows, it's probably going to change. Also, I'm gonna throw this out there. Spoiler alerts. Of course, on all these things, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of them, but also, please don't hate me. I'm giving you my honest opinion on how much I enjoyed these things, and I do allow nostalgia to influence my decisions. And I'm an original trilogy head. I love the original trilogy. I grew up with it. It's just, I find it enjoyable personally, but I do give respect, love to the prequels. I also grew up with the prequels. It's not like I only grew up with the originals, but it was my first exposure. So, let's see. So yeah, Phantom Menace. B, I think it's a good spot. It is the birth of a lot of really good and really bad in the prequels. Primarily the dialogue and the CGI being big hindrances to the prequel trilogy. It got better over time, of course, but so where it's a little the dialogue does not get better, I don't think. I think it gets a lot better, but the first and the second will be really rough. And then, of course, on the good, Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Absolutely fantastic, iconic. The Duel of the Fates, sorry. The music's fantastic. The whole film has really good shots, really good underlying story, but the plot can get lost sometimes in some really freaky dialogue, but it's not as bad as in Attack of the Clones, in my personal opinion. But I still think it's a solid film, and I would say that A New Hope and The Phantom Menace are the only two that you can watch really without watching the movies. You know what I mean? Like if you were in your life only gonna see one, right? You can watch both of those. I don't think The Force Awakens it applies to them as much, but maybe it does. I don't know. We'll get to that, and we'll see. This list will change over time. That's for sure. Like we'll see how I adjust it, but the only area in this whole list that I have definitively in my head is S. I know what my top are, and I have 4 that are gonna go there. So, we'll see how the rest of this list shakes out. Actually, real quick, I'm gonna throw up the ones I've never seen, being Resistance and the Clone Wars movie. Seen those two. Wait, that's not the show, is it? No, the show's here. So this is the show I got. This is the movie. I've never seen either one of these. I don't really have anything to say. I've heard bad things about the Clone Wars. I've actually heard decent things about Resistance, which is surprising, but maybe one day I'll give it a full shot. But for the purposes of this video, I've got really nothing to say about it. But yeah, moving on to episode 2. outside of those moments that I talked about earlier. But again, that's my opinion. I'm not trying to slander on it. It's definitely stronger than some of the other movies we're going to be talking about, but I think, without a shadow of a doubt, this has to go S, Revenge of the Sith. I think if I didn't put it in S, I would be receiving a bomb at my door, but as for today, I think I'm safe. So, Revenge of the Sith is in S tier. I don't think I really have to defend it. Again, the story, the fall of Anakin Skywalker, the music, the duels, it's all fantastic. To see everything kind of that has accumulated, built up over the trilogy and in the Clone Wars show, just kind of do that, do that moment, right? Fight on Mustafar. So, I really don't think I need to say all that much about Revenge of the Sith. I think everyone's probably gonna agree with that, and I probably, I messed up there. I should have done Clone Wars before Revenge of the Sith, but I was very excited. I think the Clone Wars, I'm gonna put it top of A. I guess I would rather watch any episode of the Clone Wars, usually. I think it's just a fantastic show. I haven't fully seen it, so maybe I'm a fake fan on that, but my fiance really wants to watch it, and I think that's gonna be the next thing we start together, so I will be rectifying that, but again, so many episodes that really just flesh out Anakin's character and his fall. Because the movies do a good job of it, but the show does a really good job of showing you this is what's happening to Anakin, this is what everything he's dealt with, and with Ahsoka, of course, being an added responsibility to him. You get to see a lot of them. It's really a fantastic show, especially the later seasons, from what I've been told. Again, I need to watch those last two, but I digress on that point. Andor's not up here, which is for the best. I haven't had the chance to see it yet because I've been showing her some other movies and other shows and stuff, so eventually we'll get to that. But we do now get to, this is where the slander is going to start. This is what's going to piss a lot of people off. I'm putting Rebels above Revenge of the Sith. I know. But Kanan Jarrus is my favorite Jedi of all time. I love the show. I love his arc. I love everything about Star Wars Rebels. And I just adore it, Personal opinion, it's above Revenge of the Sith. Now, it's not better than Revenge of the Sith as a show or as Star Wars content. It would definitely go below it. This is realistically, I think, a more approachable way of saying this. Like, I think it being behind Revenge of the Sith makes a lot more sense. But personal opinion, it belongs before it because I just love the show so much. However, I think I've talked myself out of it because I don't want to die. But I still know a lot of people probably wouldn't even put it sharing the same tier as Revenge of the Sith. But I will put it up there. As we move on to Solo, I'm not sure exactly what order I should have gone with this, but this is another bit of slander I'm going to get. I'm putting this at the back of A. When I was doing the list last time, I had it at B, and at the very last second, I moved it up to the back of A because I just think it's so good. I think Solo is an extremely entertaining movie. I think it's really rewatchable. I think it's just a fun romp with Han and Lando. And I think we really should have gotten more of that, at least another movie, because they built up a lot with Maul. At the very end, that could have been quite interesting, but hopefully we get to see some of what's going on with that in the new Maul Shadow Lord show. So, but yeah, another slanderous decision by me to put it above the prequel and second episodes. And I will put Rogue One above it, absolutely. I think Rogue One is enthralling, more exhilarating, but not more entertaining than Solo. I as in like it's just fun. You know, it's just a fun little story. But Rogue One's a better movie for sure. It's going above it. And get to the movies that I really like. Kind of. I'm gonna put A New Hope in between these two. I think it is. I think you need to watch it more than Solo. But I really do enjoy Rogue One a lot more. Honestly, I could get away with doing it this way, or like that, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I will leave it like this because A New Hope is just such a classic movie, such a classic movie. One adds a lot to it, though, and I do think in a lot of ways this is more like I do like this more. So I think I will keep it like this. But it's like I said, A New Hope and The Phantom Menace are like the only two that you can really watch on their own. But I'm an original trilogy head. I'm gonna watch it more than The Phantom Menace, that's for sure. I think while all the clunky dialogue is in all the Star Wars movies, it's less cringy in the originals, in my opinion, personally. And in a lot of ways, the sequels I think have better writing too. In some places only. Don't. That's I don't. I'm not saying that the sequels have better writing or dialogue. In general, I think in like there's a couple of places where it does it. Specifically the Force Awakens, really. But we'll get to that later. Either way, this is where I have it. And two, my number one pick, it's absolutely going to be The Empire Strikes Back. I absolutely adore The Empire Strikes Back. It's it used to be probably my number 3 favorite. Return of the Jedi used to be number 1, but as I've rewatched them as I've gotten older, Empire's just my favorite movie. I'm putting that one unapologetically above Revenge of the Sith. And obviously above Rebels, but I know that that'll be a hard pill to swallow for some people, and I'm okay with that. I've accepted that that's what I've done. With the TV shows, that will change this a little bit. I'm thinking about the future now, but I'm going to be adding later, but yeah, I just think Empire Strikes Back is such a good movie. It's so iconic just for cinema history, not just Star Wars. But again, I don't think there's much I have to say. I think the people who like Empire know it's probably the best. It's definitely the best of the trilogy. But either way, let's go ahead and get it. I want this video to be a little bit shorter because I got some other things to film as well. I'm putting Return of the Jedi back up S. This is my S tier. Originally, Rebels was in here because I was new to the shows. It's just those 3. But this is my S tier, and I think this is a solid S tier. I think if you could only consume a very limited amount of Star Wars, and this is all you get, you'll probably, maybe you wouldn't enjoy it as much because you don't have the full scope of Star Wars, but I don't know. I love these 4. These are my favorite 4 to rewatch, for whatever that means to you. That's kind of how I'm doing this list. Like, which ones am I more likely to rewatch? Which ones do I enjoy enough to get a rewatch in? Just moving on to DeLorean as well. I'm not fully moving on, but I'm putting that here, top of A. I haven't seen season 3, so that's probably why. But season 1 and 2 is going there. nostalgia would put it higher, but honestly, my nostalgia is probably the only reason that's still in S tier. I don't know how I'd feel about it if it wasn't the first one I ever saw. But either way, let's go ahead and move on to these three. I think Force Awakens is better than these two, for sure. I think this is probably how my list is gonna look. I don't know if y'all can see it actually. Let me down. Sorry, I forget that y'all can't see the whole screen. Screen recording app is kind of cut off. It's a little weird, but I'll figure it out later. I think The Force Awakens is a decent movie. I liked it when I first watched it. I liked it enough, but I was hoping for more out of the sequels. And then when The Last Jedi came out, I knew that, my hopes for it were squandered, and it made me like The Force Awakens that much less. Like, if that's what you're building up to, that's a little disappointing. I've only seen The Rise of Skywalker once. I feel like I probably should put The Last Jedi higher, only because I've at least seen it more than once, but I know how much I dislike it. My problem with it is there's a lot of deleted scenes from The Last Jedi that would have been much better. Finn is the character I was most excited to see. Potential got completely wasted there. And in the deleted scene, I think there was a more realistic death for Phasma that just would have made a lot more sense instead of the bullshit Disney bullshit that came up. But either way, I think this is probably a solid list right here. Let's see. We'll do it this way. Alright. If I were to change this to fit. Alright. My controversial list is this. Let's go ahead and change it a little bit more. If I really have to push everything down to what my absolute favorite of Star Wars is, this is where it gets crazy. This is where it gets absolutely crazy. I feel like there's something wrong in this area. I feel like I am more likely to watch The Force Awakens than probably. This is probably good. Yeah, this is gonna drive some people absolutely up the wall, I'm sure. Good gander at that. I'm sure that's gonna drive some people up the wall. It is the way that it is, what can I say? Empire and Rebels are my favorite Star Wars content. Revenge of the Sith is up there. DeLorean's up there. Return of the Jedi is up there. I don't know, it's just, this is, to me, how much I enjoyed these projects. I will say, I love everything in C. But that just goes to show how much I love everything above it, I consider this to be a tier. I consider everything in this tier to be above this. Which is gonna piss off a lot of people, the fact that Clone Wars is not, like, in the top. I'm sure in Revenge of the Sith it should be in S tier as well. I'm sure that's gonna be a lot of people's opinion. Maybe if I finish it I'll feel different. But I don't know. It's just not what I grew up with. I went back and watched all of Clone Wars as a full-grown adult. And I don't know. I know I'm gonna get some hate mail for this, and I understand. I absolutely deserve it. But I decided to be honest this is probably, I'm gonna guess at what I think most people's lists are gonna look like. I know people strongly dislike this kind of stuff. Maybe I've just been hanging out with a lot of prequel fans, but I feel like this might be realistic expectation. And I feel like if people who hadn't seen it would probably put it above this, but in the last, I've seen people probably there. This is my guess of what